The content I have for you today is a very interesting conversation between Carlos Boozer, former NBA player, who was a beast in his day, might I add, and some chick, I don't know what show this is. I see it says Bravo. I don't know if this is Housewives or whatever. But they're having a discussion about prenup. Let's let this play and let's examine this conversation because I think it's a very important conversation for men and women to have, but men specifically. It don't matter whether you rich, a little bit rich, plan on being rich or whatever. Wherever you at, let's talk about it.
So we talked about down the road and the potential of us getting married and having kids. How do you feel about a prenup?
First off, as soon as she says, that's a red flag. You already know that's a red flag. She had to know that this conversation was probably going to come up at some point.
I have been exposed to so many women that are moms, that are married, in relationships, that...
Look at his face. He's just sitting here processing the bullshit that he's hearing. He already knows, like, yeah, this is some bullshit. Remember that clip of Joe Budden when he was on that show and he realized that the woman that was talking was a man and he had the most disgusted look on his face? That's exactly how Carlos Boozer here. He kind of actually looks like Joe Budden a little bit too. But that's the exact facial expression that Joe had.
They're going through a divorce process and they have nothing.
Yeah.
Well, why are they going through a divorce process? We already know that women file the majority of divorces. These are not women that are getting divorced. They are filing for divorces. So why are these women filing for divorces? If they had a husband, if they had a man, if they had so much financial stability and they choose to leave. And don't give me that BS about, because men are abusive, men are this, men are that. No. Does it happen? Sure. But we already know that that's not the majority of the situation, okay? Kentucky just passed the law in 2018, I believe it is, that in divorce hearings, custody is automatically 50-50. And since then, the divorce rates have dropped dramatically in the state of Kentucky ever since they said custody is now automatically 50-50. Which means if it was so much abuse, if it was so much infidelity, these women would still be leaving. The number one reason that divorces are filed are irreconcilable differences. That is facts.
And they're starting literally from ground zero. One of my biggest fears is, thinking you have everything and you're good and then just getting the rug pulled out from underneath you. So
who's pulling the rug out from underneath of y'all? Y'all are pulling your own rug. If you have everything, then how about focus on being a good wife and not wrecking your freaking home, lady? I mean, they say this like they get married and they're the perfect wives and their husbands say, whatever. And then all of a sudden the divorce fairy just comes along and waves a wand and now they're no longer together. We know that's not what's happening. It's y'all chicks that are leaving. Who's leaving? Who's filing for divorces?
I never want to be in a position where that happens to me.
Yeah. Okay, so in my personal opinion, like you lived your entire life without me in it until a few weeks ago. Like coming into it, you should keep whatever you've built. And
let me pause this real quick. I salute him for having this conversation a few weeks into them talking. He said, you lived your whole life without me. You a grown-ass woman, and you've been a grown-ass woman your whole life without me up until a few weeks ago. Yeah, we need to have this conversation right now before we move forward any further.
To keep whatever I built. Now, once we start together on a journey of marriage and down that path, then we put everything 50-50.
Yeah.
I can't stand when people just you to death. Because you know they're not listening. She not trying to hear none of that shit. She not trying to hear look at her face, dog. I don't know how old she is. I know Booz is about 44. She's already hit the wall. You got Carlos Boozer in front of you. former NBA player, set for life. You lucky to even be in this position. I don't know how old she is, but that wall is right there. I can see up underneath that makeup. We can see them bags under them eyes. We can see them cheekbones. Like, the wall is right there, baby. You got about 10 more years, if that, before you start falling off. And this is not me trying to talk bad about her and make fun of her. I'm just being real straight up and saying, you just lucky to even have a nigga even talking to you about husbandry right now. Which must means that she must be a dope chick. If she's at least getting this conversation after a couple weeks, you got a nigga possibly considering putting a ring around your old ass finger. And you want to sit here and complain about a prenuptial? Come on now.
Marriage and down that path, and we just put everything 50-50.
Yeah,
I do think a prenup is necessary for the both of us.
Yeah. I just hear so much regret and they wish they could have done something differently.
Look at his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talking about divorce already feels so unnatural. I don't want to talk about that. It makes me realize that we really have been living in a bubble, and in reality, we kind of really just met.
I just don't even... I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you don't know. But he knows. Now, let me explain this real quick. First of all, once again, this is Carlos Boozer. This man was a part of the 2001 NCAA championship team with Duke University. He was drafted 35th overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers, played for Cleveland, Utah, Chicago, the Lakers. He played in China for a little bit, two-time All-Star. I thought he had way more All-Star selections than that. Boozer was nice in his day. Just from contracts, he made around $146 million throughout his career. 10 to 20 million in endorsements. They said his net worth is probably around 60 million. Can't trust what the internet says about net worth, but it's kind of a number just to kind of give you an idea of where somebody might be at. He also has two twin sons, Cameron and Caden, who were like number one in the country in high school, and I think they both committed to Duke University as well. So like the man's got it solid, the man's got it set. Now let's explain real quick. See, a prenup doesn't mean that the woman doesn't get nothing. It's about what you actually put in that agreement. Now, if I worked my whole life to build up this life and I have what I have, and we get married and then we get a divorce, i.e. you decide you no longer get those tingly feelings anymore, and now you want to file for no-fault divorce, irreconcilable differences, then I get to keep what I came into this with. You can't just take half or all of my shit, right? You can get something. You can walk away with something. And again, there's also sunset clauses where if we're married for a certain amount of time, you also leave with something. But this is the cost of dealing with, see, this is the difference, and this is one thing that the Godfather Kevin Samuels used to talk about when it comes to being a high-value man. He wouldn't include athletes in the conversation of a high-value man because, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I think the way that he looked at it was more along the lines of like somebody who had to grind and work and build themselves up to that. Whereas with an athlete, there's some level of you kind of being born with, you know, the athletic build of the body that you have or something along those lines. And plus, just because you're a professional athlete and making millions of dollars does not automatically qualify you as being a high value man. So I do agree with that. But they do work hard to get to the point of even being able to make that money. You got to be extremely good. You got to be a great basketball player to make it into the NBA. But this is a high value man mindset that Carlos Boozer is coming into this with. To only have been talking to this woman for a few weeks and introducing this conversation already is definitely a 4D chess move. We've seen a video of, shout outs to Stack 5, talking about his ex and their pastor that was giving them premarital counseling. both did not want to sign a prenup. And then finally on the wedding day, she broke down crying and she said, okay, I'll sign it. And he said, nope, I'm good, because then you could turn around and say, well, I signed that contract under duress and it'll be thrown out. Fellas, I think this is very smart. I think this is how you should approach these conversations. Now, obviously, like I said, she must have something valuable about her to where, look at his face. He's just looking at her like, I knew this bitch wasn't shit. But that's the thing, like, they kicking it for a couple weeks and things was going good. I'm feeling you feeling me. Hey, bitch, we need to have a conversation real quick, Miss Bitch. All right, how you feel about, in the case of a divorce, you leave with your shit that you came in with and I leave with my shit that I came in with? How you feel about that? I mean, and the red flags just start pouring out of her damn mouth. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do I got it right or am I tripping? Let me know.
Yeah. Lucas. Author. Ha. Words have meanings, phrases have origins, so I put them in the book for your enjoyment. I love educating my people cause I'm nice. I drop jewels just to break the ice. So know your words like you know your cars. You might think your flow is close, but no cigar. And we can tell who ain't floating in a while, cause some rappers washed up, time to throw in the towel. Now, I just dropped 3 metaphors, it's easy. And this book teach the histories and meanings, plus common phrases, and they all amazing. This is a quick read, it's not a whole lot of pages. The color's red when I'm drawing 4. They couldn't Uno reverse me, now it's back to the drawing board. And if I die, hip-hop won't be authentic. I won't just kick the bucket, I'll put a sock in it.
The metaphor dictionary.
Hey young, order your copy.
The metaphor dictionary.
It's available on Amazon.
The metaphor dictionary.
My Time album out in all stores.
The metaphor dictionary.
Crank Lucas is an author now. Wow.